So hello, my colleagues, and I hope everyone is well. All right, I'm going to redo chapter 6 here, bonds, because the last time I did this, the somehow I shut my mic off somehow. I'm definitely know it's on now. The light's flashing green, so it looks like everything is good. All right, so bonds, a debt, right? Bonds mean the company borrows money from you, and they give you coupons or interest payments normally every 6 months, and then at the end of the maturity of the bond, you get your premium back that you loaned them. It's either called premium or principal, but you get your money back. And so we're going to talk about bonds here. And remember that companies like issuing debt for a couple of reasons. First of all, the interest that they pay you every 6 months, they can write that off on their taxes. So that's a wonderful thing for them. They love that. And the other thing is you don't vote. Bonds are pure debt. They borrow your money. You're not a shareholder. You can't vote. You have no say. You get your coupons and you go on with your life, right? And then you get your money back. So that's how that works. And you can see here, the interest every 6 months or whatever is called a coupon or an interest payment. And this is the number of periods. So let me be clear. Say it's a 10-year bond and it gives you pays you coupons every 6 months. That means it has 20 periods, 20 coupon periods. Is everybody clear? Yield to maturity is the yield you're going to get when the bond matures, including everything. And I think a couple of the homeworks we did that, right? It's the same thing as internal rate of return. And the premium or P here is the initial price of the bond. And if you buy a new bond, the price or the face value is going to be the same. Typically, brand new bonds come with a face value or par value or an initial price of $1,000. There's a couple of words for that. All right, so yield to maturity on a zero coupon bond is going to be shown as N with N periods to maturity. Okay, so that's now a zero coupon bond is a bond that you buy at a very deep discount, and you get your all the money back at the end. You don't get and you don't get coupon payments every 6 months. Thus the name zero coupons. You get no coupons. Okay, so you buy it very cheap, and then you get all the money back at once at the end. So the interest rate or discount rate for a cash flow that arrives in period N. Okay. So there's going to be a couple different interest rates we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about the coupon rate, the yield to maturity, or the interest rate or discount rate for a cash flow that arrives in period N. And then, of course, there's the present value. All right. And now we have a large number of periods. And this is an annuity spreadsheet notation, okay, for the number of periods for, or date of the last cash flow. And again, these will be on, I think these capital ones are going to be on spreadsheets, as you see, right? So just some history. So for a while, the government was actually running a surplus in the early 2000s. They were running a surplus, which means they weren't they didn't have to pay any debt, right? So they stopped issuing 30-year Treasury bonds, and it was a wonderful life for a while. They were balancing their books, the government. However, it didn't last long, as you can imagine, and they had to start borrowing money again. I think there was a lot of things were going on, right? And then in 2008, the market, the mortgage crisis, and so I think as of now, we have a ton of a debt, as you all know. And you could always go online and look at the debt clock. All right, remember, every year we run a deficit, but the national debt is the sum of all the money that's been borrowed. And there's a lot more borrowing that's going to go on, as you know, because of the coronavirus, all these plans they have coming up with now. So we're going to look at different types of bonds and how they're valued. We're going to do all that, all right? And we're going to talk about the we're back to this again. Let me get. I don't know why it does that, but we're going to talk about the law of one price. So just for some bond terminology, when you buy a bond, there's a contract or an indenture. otherwise known as a bond certificate. And this has got a repayment date, and that's called a maturity date when when you get your money back, right? That's the term of the bond. Bonds typically make two types of payments to their holders. They pay the coupons, as we talk about, like let's say every 6 months or a year, but most of the time here, every 6 months. And then you get your principal or face value back, or notional amount again at the end. So you can see here they talk about them in increments of $1,000. All right. So there's a lot of names for that, at the end with the money you pay. Now bonds don't stay at $1,000 after you buy them; they fluctuate, and bond prices will fluctuate with interest rates. Okay. So here's the coupon. So this is the amount of each coupon. This is the amount you're going to get from each coupon. And you can see it says number of coupon payments per year. So typically that's a 2, right? So here's the coupon rate, and you see they're dividing it by 2 most of the time. And here's the face value. So a $1,000 coupon bond with a 10% coupon rate would be $100, right? 10% of 1,000 is 100, but you get $50 every 6 months. I think that should be clear to everybody, right? That shouldn't be a surprise to everybody. And jumps ahead. I don't know why. All right. All right, so there's this concept of zero coupon bonds, and as I said, they don't make coupon payments. So a treasury bill basically is a zero coupon bond. You buy it at a deep discount and you get your money back, let's say 3 months or 6 months or a year, right? This treasury bills are basically a year or less. You see, with a maturity up to 1 year. Okay, and there's a lot of. I think I put some stuff on the blackboard on zero coupon bonds. So, and I might have even sent you stuff. All right, so here's the coupon. Here's the timeline for a zero coupon bond. Right, this is what you pay for it. This is the face value at the end. So you would get a simple of. There's an equation which I'll show you, and that will tell you what your return was. All right, so the yield to maturity is a term that's important. And what is the yield to maturity? The yield to maturity of a bond, and I'll highlight that for you again, is the discount rate that sets the present value of the promised bond payments equal to the current market price of the bond. And that's also called the internal rate of return, right? That's also called the internal rate of return. So the yield to maturity for a zero coupon bond is the return that you will earn as an investor from holding the bond to maturity and receiving the promised face value payment. All right, so here's the equation for a yield to maturity of a 1-year zero coupon bond. So here's the equation. Here's the price you paid. Here is what its face value is going to be, 100,000, and you solve for YTM, and it comes out to 1.035%. And this is a treasury, so it's risk-free. Treasuries are considered risk-free because the government will always pay you your money back, no matter how messed up things get. So okay, so the law of one price. The competitive market risk-free rate is 3.5%, meaning all 1-year risk-free investments must earn 3.5%. Okay. So the law of one price is like real important, and they tell you that you gotta get that all 1-year risk-free investments because there's no risk premium or anything. So now a more general equation for a zero coupon bond with more than one period to maturity is shown like this. So here's the equation that you would use. And you could write this in Microsoft Excel and solve this, right? So this is the per period rate of return for holding the bond from today until maturity on date N. So this is the per period, right? So let's say this says for an N year, right? So this will give you the annual rate here. If I divide by N, right? So basically that's how that all plays out. So this is the per period. holding the bond. Okay, so the risk-free interest rate again is the rate that you basically the government will pay you on the treasury because it is risk-free and you'll always get your money back. All right, so that's why it's called. So look, because a default free zero coupon bond matures on date and provides a risk-free return over the same period, the law of one price guarantees that the risk-free rate equals the yield to maturity on such a bond. Okay, so that's important. So because a default free, which means it's not going to default, zero coupon bond matures on date and provides a risk-free return over the same period, the law of one price guarantees that the risk-free interest rate equals the yield to maturity on such a bond. So here's the risk-free rate with maturity, and that equals the yield to maturity. All right, so that's important to know. The law of one price is very important. I think I might have sent you stuff on that too. All right, so a yield curve, a treasury yield curve, is going to basically represent treasury securities interest rate versus time, and the further out you go, the more interest you're going to get, right? Because you're taking more risk. So, and again, when I say more risk, I mean time risk, not default risk. Okay, so a 30-year bond, you're going to have the interest rates are going to fluctuate a lot more. So you're going to basically have to get more interest on that. All right, and it's not again for default. It's basically time. Okay. So here's this example here, and here's an example. I think I went over something like this before. So here's yields for different maturities, and you can see as you go out in time, right? So basically, you can determine the spot interest rates that determine the zero coupon yield curve, right? So this is year one. You can see that this is year two, right? So this is the annual rate, and this is year three, and this is year four. So you can clearly see interest rates are going up as the price is going down, right? So we're getting the spot rates. Okay, so this is these are rates that are determined for the future. All right, let me play this, and then we'll move on.
Yields for different maturities. Okay, we have the price of a zero coupon bond, and we would like to calculate its yield to maturity. So let's begin with the 1-year zero coupon bond. The first bond pays $100 in a year. Its price today is $96.62. So the yield to maturity is just going to be 100 divided by 96.62 minus 1, 3.5%. The second bond pays $100 in 2 years. So the yield to maturity is therefore going to be 100 over the price today, which is $92.45, and we take the square root of that ratio, subtract 1 to get the yield to maturity of 4%. Repeating the process for the third bond, which is now a 3-year bond, we get the ratio of what we will get in a year, 100, divided by what we paid for it, 87.63. This time raised to the 1/3 power because they're 3 years to maturity. Subtract 1 and get 4.5%. And using the same process for the 4-year bond, we get 4.75%.
All right, so that's that. All right, so you can read up on the global financial crisis. I'm almost up to 15 minutes. I think it doesn't like me to go over 15 minutes. I'll make a second part.